Hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is Indie Comics Underground Live. I am Jam Creates, and welcome to my channel. Tonight we're going to be talking with a special guest, Edwin Acevedo. We'll be talking all about his book, The Ace, which is now available on Indiegogo. It's in demand. The link is right down below in the description, so when you like what you see, or you like what you hear, you can always just hit that link down there and check it out. So let's get into it. I already said I am Jam Creates. We've got my buddy RC Gates down. See, I point down. That's nice and easy.
Exactly.
When he's next to me, that's the problem. Like for Edwin, I got to do that to point. So RC is here. I'm here, and then Edwin is here. Welcome, Edwin.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So let's get into it. We'll start talking about the book. We'll talk about you. We'll talk about the book. So first off, we actually did an interview for the website. So it's a written interview. So if anyone's interested in that, you can go back and track that down on the website, indiecomicsunderground.com. There was a written interview back when the book had first launched, I believe, all about the book. So then now we're getting kind of an update here. So how has the campaign treated you? How's it been going?
Oh, it's been going good. It's been, it's been a grind. It's been like probably 3.5 months now since launch. So yeah, but the book's done good. It's over 6,000. Just crossed 6,000 a couple days ago. So yeah, can't complain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now you are working on the book with, well, you're the writer of the book. We should state that for people. So you are the writer and the creator, and the artist on the book is Ibai Canales.
Yep, that's me and Canales, the Spanish dream team.
So why don't you give us real quick? We'll give us the elevator pitch, and then we'll get into more details about the book. So what is The Ace?
Sure. So The Ace Volume 1 is the story of David Diaz, a young man who's looking for purpose in his life. He's 21 years old. He just got out of college. He's working, a regular job in this small town, and he feels there's more out there in the world for him, but he doesn't exactly know what that is. And one day, by happenstance, he sees a shooting star crash land in a park nearby. And when he goes to check out the wreckage, he discovers something there that grants him the ability to transform into an armored being that he calls the Ace. And the main story of Volume 1 is about David having had the armor for about 6 months. Is found by Akula, as you can see right there, this giant alien shark bounty hunter who tracks him down and literally shows up at his front door and wants to take the armor for himself. So yeah, that's the Ace Volume 1.
Okay, so he finds the armor. The armor is obviously of alien origin, and so it's kind of I guess it's almost a little like Greatest American Hero in a way. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm dating myself again. Greatest American Hero. He finds the costume and it gives him the powers. So it's similar idea. That was a TV show from back in the 80s. I think it was only like 1 or 2 seasons, that show. So then he gets the armor now. Is the armor like attached to him, or is it a suit that he has to put on and take off, or how does that work?
I mean, I don't want to give it all away, but
yeah, no, of course.
No, but yeah, I mean, he can get in and out of the armor. Let's say.
Okay, and then as you mentioned, our friend here, the shark. Let's scroll down to the big picture. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Now that's the Donald DeLay did that piece, right?
That's right. Donald completely killed this. Just blew me away. I know there was a little conversation a couple of months ago talking about the best covers in CG, but when I threw down the gauntlet, I mean, like, do you have a giant bounty hunter alien shark? And everybody else said no. I was like, well, I guess that makes me the winner then. Crown the Donald as the cover champion of CG for at least a year.
Well, it's an awesome piece. Like, that cover is just totally badass. It really is. And that the shark.
Incredible. No, the colors are great by Theo Gonzalez, who did the colors for Brutus. Donald hooked me up with him, so he did a tremendous job on that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, the and the shark now. I'm gonna well, I'll scroll through. We'll just look at some of the art, and you can see like right here, the print here with the metal print. There's a bigger one of those down below, I believe, right
It's
on
in
the
the updates
campaign.
actually. Updates.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so well, let me just scroll through so people can take a
Yep.
look at it as we go. And you can see the interior art by Canales here. What's funny is I'm looking when I first started looking at it, I recognize Canales's art because I've, seen him work on a bunch of different stuff now. And it struck me as funny because I was like, something's different. I'm not quite sure what, and then I realized I'm not used to seeing his art in color
Yep. Yeah.
because
Like I said.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel
Like
like he worked on, Iron Sights is in black and white. He did Most Lethal, that's black and white. He did SOS volumes 1 and 2. Those are both black and white. So it was funny. All of a sudden I realized like, yeah, like I don't think I've ever seen his art colored. It looks great.
yeah. Like I said, Theo Gonzalez also colored the main story. So he and Canales just vibe great together. Like you see the colors really pop and brings his like his line work and everything up just to another level. Like the detail and everything's insane. I can't wait for people to see it, and I think they're really gonna have a newfound respect for what Canales is doing.
Yeah, well, he's definitely, I mean, his art has improved as he's been working. I've noticed it. Like I actually recorded a review for SOS Volume 2 that's going to go out tomorrow, video review, and I feel like that was some of his best work so far. And then the work he's got in here is also killer. So like he's a fantastic artist. He really is, and he knocks out pages like crazy. And this
Yeah, it's been great working with him.
I love 6 a.m. I love his stuff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love his stuff. I'm waiting for him to have his own book.
Well, it's coming. He's been
Uh,
working on it. It's
no,
just
I know. I'm just waiting for it because I love, love, love his stuff.
yeah, it's great.
This is sick right here.
Yeah,
This
that's a Kaiju print by Jim O'Reilly. That great piece.
now is this creature here something from the book or did he just come up with that?
Uh, I
Or
guess you
can you
could
not
call
tell
this.
us?
Uh, uh, I like to call this a little bit like what do you call it? Like a little look into a possible future of
Okay.
something you might possibly see down the road.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, no, the book really does look like the art looks great, the colors look great, and so where did this come from? Like for you, now you create, obviously this is your creation. Where did this come from for you? Like, what was the inspiration? What set this off in your head? How long has it been in your head?
wow. I mean, honestly, uh, when I grew up, I wanted to be a comic book artist. Like I think like a lot of people and stuff. But
Sure.
by the time I got to high school, it was pretty evident that wasn't going to be my line of work. I don't have the artistic talent for it or the patience to draw the same thing over and over again until I got good. So it's just it wasn't going to work out. So but I've always been somebody who took little notes and had ideas for things. I would I've had this idea. It's like a complete other subject, but I've had this idea probably for about, I don't know, half my life, like a story idea. I don't know if it's
Okay.
going to be like a movie or something, but it was just rumbles around in my head, and I just had to like write notes about it and stuff. And I was never going to do anything with it, but that's kind of how my brain works sometimes. When something like kicks in me, like I get like a creative spark for it. And even
Yep.
if nothing comes to it, I have like tons of notes and notepads and stuff I've written over the years, where I just have all these like comic book ideas, movie ideas that I just write down. And so like when Comic Skate started, I'm just a supporter. I'm just a fan, like I just want to support and show love to the guys who are doing their own work. And then, I ended up getting this avatar done by Sweens of what ended up being like the original Ace kind of version.
Hmm.
And it was really like he Sweens kind of blew me away with the design because he designed almost like a full character. I just thought he was gonna do like a little quick avatar, for me that I was gonna wear, and he came up with this whole thing. based on a lot of my inspirations. I'm a big Darkhawk fan. I'm a big Green Lantern fan. All
Okay.
these kind of he mixed a little Star Wars in it. Just so these different elements he put together. And I remember just like looking at like he showed me a lot of different like mock-ups and stuff, like some the pencils and different kind of takes he had on the character. And I just think like, this is like a great creation. Like somebody should do something with this. And then I was like, well, you know, this whole Comicsgate thing, it's possible that I can actually do something. So I started writing down some initial ideas, and then I went to my buddy Passion for Drawing, and I just kind of pitched it to him a bit. We just kind of threw some ideas. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, no, I like it. And after that, I've just kind of like, that's when kind of the process began. I started working on this outline for the script, and kind of everything kind of came together. So overall, right now, it's been over 2 years since uh, from my first time I kind of said, all right, I'm gonna actually do something to like
Right.
now. So
Yeah, well, I can totally relate with the idea of just constantly writing things down, like notebooks everywhere, like little scraps. Like there was times where it's like I just need to grab a little scrap of paper and just write something down because I
yeah,
need to make
wasn't
sure I
the
remember
sticky
it.
notes?
Yeah.
Sticky notes galore. Yeah.
Yeah, oh no, I can totally relate to that because that's exactly how I operate. I've been doing that for years. Just I used to bring a little notebook. I had this little like they'd sell like the little notebooks, little fat notebooks, and in the supermarket and stuff. I would just buy one of those and just carry it around with me all the time when I'd go to work, and I would just be writing ideas down left and right, and I just have like all these different notes everywhere for all these different things, and some of them are related, some of them are completely unrelated to one another, and some are for comic book ideas, some are movie ideas, some are game ideas, like all sort, like it's exactly, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
I got
Yeah,
the same
it's
sort of thing there.
Yeah, I think that's it's funny because in real life I don't know too many people who are like that. um but the more I talk to people who are in CG and all that, like you start to get to know, like, okay, so I'm not the only one like this. There are a lot of people who are like this. We just are kind of spread out and maybe haven't run into one another in the real world. Like it's definitely cool to see like other people who have that same crazy, like the crazy inspiration fairy just comes to you at random times and you just got to write things down.
yeah. I don't know. There's something really kind of like cathartic about it. Even if nothing comes of it,
Hmm.
the idea that you had something and it's like an interesting. There's so many things like that I've kind of had in my head, and then years later I'll see something that's not what was in my head, but I'll see something that's kind of similar, and it'll
Uh-huh.
remind me like I remember when I thought of something like this. Like
Yep.
one of those things like you never know. Like I think there are people who have kind of that same wavelength. They just kind of the inspiration kind of strikes, and they got to get it down on paper.
Mhm.
Definitely. And it's funny because, like you said, like that'll happen too. You'll have some idea for something and you might even forget about it. And then, 10 years later, you'll see like a movie or a book or whatever it might be. And you're like, oh, that sounds like I remember I thought of something just like that.
Yeah,
And then you have something written down on paper to go back and reference.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely happens a lot. But it's funny because I found like the other thing is I know, like, I'll think to myself, if I'm writing something, if I'm working on something, I'll go back and be like, wait, I had an idea for something like this. And then, like, you start digging through the notes to find, like, this old idea. And you're like, I can totally use this now. So
I just
now,
want to say hail to the chat before we go on. Sim
yeah,
and Fizzle
absolutely.
join the house. Thanks,
Yep.
guys. Be
Fizz and
sure to
Sim.
sub to the channel, like, and share this out on the Twitters or Facebook. We're hanging out here talking about the
Definitely.
East.
Definitely. Spread the word. Let people know we're live right now. We're going. Um, So yeah, so now you said like obviously the costume for the ace comes from some extraterrestrial source, which I assume at some point, maybe not in volume one, but at some point we'll learn what that is. I would assume, right?
Yeah, like we'll touch on like some of it,
Mhm.
but that's gonna be probably like its own story.
Right.
When I do like a real deep dive into like the origins and everything. But yeah, they'll definitely be touching on it, and they'll be dropping different hints and things about it. Like you'll learn more as kind of he does, as David does
Right.
throughout each volume. So
Yeah, and then you've got the obviously the costume comes from somewhere from outer space, and then you've got this crazy shark bounty hunter who who also comes from outer space. So clearly there's a lot of, science fiction elements to this and that kind of thing. So like are you like a big sci-fi guy, or is it more like science fantasy your thing, or is it the superhero thing? Like what are you into
yeah,
basically?
I like some sci-fi, but mostly, like I said, I'm a big Green Lantern fan. So space, aliens, different worlds, different kind of powers, all that kind of stuff. Based on like a human's kind of viewpoint, stuff like
Right.
that. That's always kind of same thing with like Darkhawk. Darkhawk, later on in the series, he explored space more and different
Hmm.
kind of like the other side. So yeah, like that's always kind of been interesting to me. Obviously like Star Trek, Star Wars, different, you know,
Right.
sci-fi kind of things. Anything from like what the hell is I'm blanking out. Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Anything that has like aliens and like different weapons and all that kind of stuff. If it's kind of has those elements, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, that's
So,
kind of how I am too.
yeah,
Definitely be more willing to give it a chance at least.
yeah,
Um yeah, no, and I could definitely see like what you're going for is more of, it's a super I could definitely see the Green Lantern influence in the idea of the human who gets the power, and then essentially as I would think like, the nice thing about that kind of setup is that as you go forward, as he learns, as the character learns about the armor, as he learns about the other worlds that might be out there and all this other stuff, you're learning along with the character.
yeah. And it's the element of also kind of setting up the rules
Right.
of this world and stuff like that. It's kind of like you can kind of start setting everything up as he discovers it, you discover it, and it becomes a nice little like storytelling device you can use.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's very much it's like the the old X-Men trope. Whenever you're going to do a new X-Men story, it's always the story of the new student who comes in, so that it's easy to just introduce that whole world through
Yeah.
that student's eyes. It's the same idea. You got to have some way to teach the audience what's going on. So now this I'm sorry, I forgot the shark's name.
Akula.
Akula. Where did that name come from, by the way?
Uh,
Did it just sound
it, it
cool?
uh, it's basically Russian for shark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
Akula's got like he's kind of like inspired part Lobo, part like one of these like Russian kind of like movie villains,
Okay.
stuff like that. It just kind of he's gone through a lot of different kind of like ideas that I've had for him, but basically the main idea is kind of like so I was kind of looking up different names and stuff, and I just kind of looked up, what was how to say shark in Russian, and
Hmm.
I just kind of when the name came up, I was like, it's like Akulia, something like that when you pronounce it in Russian.
Right.
And I just thought like, all right, if I can Americanize it, like it'll be like Akula,
Right.
and it just sounded right. When I said, I was like, there you go, there you go. And it does mean shark, so it kind of like brings everything together. It's also, again, it's another tribute to Green Lantern.
Hmm.
Uh, there's this little like joke in one of the early volumes of Jeff Johns' run when aliens, other members of the Green Lantern Corps show up on Earth to because they have to bring these kind of gremlin aliens that were causing trouble,
Hmm.
and they speak German.
Oh,
So
okay.
it becomes like a little joke where the Greenlanders are like they mention something about how they speak German. Or like, yeah, that's not German. Like that's like that's this language, this alien language that has been bastardized and into like with German for us. And I thought that was hilarious. I just thought like that is like it was completely like one page throwaway, but it
Right.
made me laugh, and I just thought like that's a really funny idea. You know?
That's funny. It's funny because I like stories like that about like where people get these like it sounds funny like when you put it out there it sounds funny and it sounds like, well, his name is just Shark in another language, but at the same time, unless you told us that, we would never know that. So like to you, to us as an audience, unless we actually spoke Russian, like it was just like, oh, it's a cool name, like where to come.
Yeah. And like
It's
the main test is that the name has to sound right. The same thing when like people always ask me, oh, like like the Ace, and I'm like, yeah, trust me, I tried a whole bunch of other names. Like, but everything just came out sounding generic. The
okay.
Ace, like that was like a nickname that was kind of jokingly given to me
Hmm.
by I believe it was Tyler from More Campaign. He just kind of jokingly called me that. So people got used to seeing the name Ace in my name.
Right.
And I just think like, that's like a great promotion tool because people already know the name, and they know the name and the avatar. So they see like, this avatar and the Ace, so you just like subliminally, you're like, hey, it's the Ace.
Yeah, well,
you know?
you were branding right from the
Yeah,
beginning.
right from the start, right? You use that promo.
That's right. That's
And
nice.
that started like I started using the name on like YouTube and stuff, so it all just kind of tied in together.
Well,
So it just
it's
kind of
funny
made sense.
because I remember seeing you in chats and stuff on on other people's live streams, and your name would be Edwin the Ace Acevedo. So I was like, it just always made like it stuck with me. Like I remembered that, and then when the book came out, I'm like, oh, like, and then I didn't realize like it was kind of like just not a plan. But that's good. That's like viral marketing from the get go.
Hey, you got to use what you have. So
Absolutely.
All the puzzle pieces are falling into place.
yes, sir.
Yeah, well, especially, I mean, for anybody, any kind of independent creator, you got to take advantage of anything you can, to try to get eyeballs on you, to try to get recognition, anything like that because it's so hard. And especially now, there are so many campaigns out there that, you really do, you need to like take advantage of everything you can to try and get more eyeballs on you and on your campaign.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where it is grassroots and you have to grow it from the bottom. So
Right. Right. Well, I mean, that's the cool thing is you also have what's really nice, and that's one of the nice things about CG is that you've got all these people who are not only willing to help others, but they're enthusiastic about helping others. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna help because maybe they'll help me in the no, people just want to help. They want to see everybody succeed. That's
yeah,
that's why
definitely.
that's why I feel like, when you see a lot of people talking, you see sometimes, it happens all the time. Obviously, see a lot of people talk trash about CG because they just don't know what it actually is, or they don't want to know, and I see so many people constantly trying to help other people out to get their campaigns to grow, to help get their books out there, to help get their names out there. And you don't get that anywhere else. You really don't. Like you
No,
definitely no, go ahead.
it's def no, like I said, it's very kind of unique thing that you can't really find anywhere else. You know?
Absolutely. Like you just don't get it you don't get it in the mainstream, that's for darn sure.
I know.
And and you even don't see it in a lot of the there's that other side of crowdfunding where those people who don't they don't want to be associated with CG at all, so they try to stay away from that. And it could be for whatever reason. I don't care. I'm not judging. But they don't even like I see so many times I'll see somebody out there trying to promote their own book, and I literally just see them floundering. And the nice thing about CG is that there are there is this network of people who are like into it. They support comics, they buy comics, they don't just like give you a retweet or something. Like a lot of these people are actually putting their money where their mouth is and they're buying these books. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think that honestly I think that's the thing that scares a lot of other people about CG, is the fact that people are actually buying. Like you can always tell like what scares somebody, because it's always the thing that they'll try to like knock. So they'll always be like, oh, they're just, nobody's buying those CG trash. But like, really? Because have you looked? Like, 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 so you can tell like they know people are buying them and it annoys them that people are buying them. And that's why that's the thing that's the insult they try to go for. But it's very silly to me, like the whole the way a lot of these people try to talk about CG and label it and everything else. And it's like, guys, just chill. It's just people who want to make cool comics because nobody else is. Like that's what it boils down to. Like I look at your book and I see this is, the Ace is obviously like an action adventure. It's got crazy shark guys, like that's right up my alley. Like that's awesome. Like it's a comic book. Like that's what it looks like. It looks like a comic book. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
look like
fun escapist entertainment. You want to go and have a fun read and discover this new world, these new characters. Stuff that kind of reminds you of the past, but gives it like a current spin.
right.
That's what we want more of. We don't want to be bogged down with real life issues. The world sucks.
Right.
Amen
just
to that.
look at the news. Just every day, it's just more terrible news. I
Well,
want to have fun, man. I want to remember when I was a kid, picking up all those comics from the spinner rack, and I would just go home and I would shut off everything and I would just sit in my room and I would go through these comics, and they made me feel happy, and it was entertaining and fun.
absolutely. And that's, it's funny, like let's go on a little side journey here for a minute, because you just mentioned like picking up books off the spinner rack and stuff. And I know for me, like that's how I started too. I would go to I would ride my bike up to the candy store, and it was a stationery store, candy store, whatever, and they had comics there. And I never knew what they were going to have on any given day. It was just completely random. I would walk in and just look at what they had, and if I saw something that looked cool, I would buy it, because not only did the books look cool, but the books were affordable for me being a kid. So I was able to do that. So like, for me, like I said, I started riding my bike to the candy store and buying comics that way, and then eventually, I've told this story before. Like, I used to get every Christmas, in the Sears catalog, they used to have a box of comics. Was one of the things you could get from there, and it was random. You didn't know what you were going to get, but it was a box that had like 25 comics in it. And I got it every Christmas for like 3 years running, and I think they stopped doing it. And it was great. Like I didn't know what I was going to get, but I didn't care. I would open them up and they would be like, here's a random Spider-Man. Here's another one that has nothing to do with the one I just read. Here's, here's one, like you would get like maybe 2 from the same series, but there would be like an issue missing in between the 2. So you wouldn't know what happened in between. Like, but I didn't even care. Like as a kid, none of that even mattered to me. I just knew I was reading cool adventures with these cool superheroes, and that's all I wanted. And anything I didn't understand or didn't know, maybe because it happened previously or they were referencing something, I would just either fill in my head like, oh, that must have been something, or eventually later on down the road when comic stores started popping up and stuff, I could actually go track down the back issues.
Dude, exactly. Like you have no idea how many times I went to like my local. It was like this kind of like liquor store that had the spinner rack for the first before I found an LCS, and I would go there every week, and I had no idea that Marvel or DC actually put these comics out on schedule. So
Right.
I had no idea when new issues would come. I'd pick up like an issue on Uncanny X-Men, then I'd pick up an issue of regular X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd be telling 2 different storylines. So I'd have to like figure out how it tied in, and that was fun. I know how many people talk about, oh, comics are so hard to get into. Go to the store if the comic is good and just pick up any issue. Doesn't matter. The first comic I ever picked up was Spider-Man. I think like the title's like uh, Deadly Foes of Spider-Man,
Okay.
issue 4 of 4. That's my first ever comic. Loved it completely. No idea who any other characters were or anything that was going on, but it was still amazing, and it made me want to pick up, whatever the next issue of Spider-Man, which had
Right.
nothing to do with this one that I had picked up. But it was great because the story
Yeah.
was that good, and the art and the characters were interesting, and that's the fun of discovering. Like, like to me, like I want people to, if I'm lucky enough to put out a bunch of these, and they end up picking volume 5. I want them to just be able to get into it in the story and then be like, try to piece it together and then want to go back. Or if they don't want to go back, just take it from there, go to the next one. Like
Right.
it's not that complicated. If the story's good, people will latch onto it and they'll figure it out as it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I always said that. That was a thing. For years we would hear, comics are too. That's why they justified doing all those crazy relaunches and reboots and Crisis and all that stuff. Where they would just relaunch the entire universe, and I never understood that because for me, like I said, I remember just I would get random issues. And I didn't know what the hell was happening. I didn't know what happened before that issue. And I probably wouldn't even get the one after it unless I happened to get lucky. So, like, I had no idea. It was just random stuff, but I would read it and it was cool. And I didn't care. And then, like I said, down the road when the LCSs started popping up, then I started going to the comic book stores and I started learning about the release schedules and all that. And I would, have a pull list and I knew what I was going to get. And then I just started spending entirely way too much money on comics and
Oh
would
yeah.
be buying stacks and stacks every week. Espe-
It's just fun, man. Like people have, if you having didn't grow up during the '90s, and that's not like people always talk, oh, nostalgia, nostalgia. No, I've read comics consistently since the early '90s, about '91, '92, wherever, till now.
uh-huh.
They were better and more interesting back then. That's just reality.
Oh yeah, yeah,
People talk about like they were bad comics. Yeah, they were bad comics. Even the bad ones were entertaining.
yeah.
And I'll gladly swipe a bad, ridiculously drawn image comic over this milk toast, no
Uh-huh.
action, no cool characters, coffee shop talk comics
Oh
that
my
that go
God.
on these days. Like
That
that's not a comic book.
No, exactly. That drives me nuts. Like, and again, and I haven't bought a mainstream comic in ages at this point because I just don't want to. But for the life of me, like, when I was a kid, I understood this. Like, this is the funny part to me. When I was a kid, I used to tell people all the time, comics are awesome because there's no budget. The only budget in a
Mm-hmm.
comic book is the people's imagination. If you want to blow up entire planets, an entire solar system, you can. It doesn't matter. It's a comic book. You can do whatever you want. It's not like when you make a movie and you're like, well, we only got this much for the effects and we got this much to pay the actors and we got this many days to shoot and all that. Like, I get it. When you're making a movie or a TV show, I understand there are limitations to what you can do. And obviously, nowadays with special effects, the limitations are a lot less than they used to be. But I used to say it all the time. Comics, bless you.
Thank you.
Comics literally have an endless budget. You can do absolutely anything that is within your imagination in a comic. And I used to say that when I was a kid. And yet now we get comics that are loaded with just people sitting around talking. I remember I used to think it's funny. Now I don't know, maybe you guys let me know what you thought about this. When I was a kid, I used to, I'm reading comics and all that. And a lot of times the characters would be having a fight. And in the fight, they'd be having like a whole conversation. And I always thought it was like the silliest thing. Like, how are they having this entire conversation while they're like fighting a bunch of robots, or it's it's the X-Men in the danger room, like beating up a bunch of robots, but they're also having this conversation about something that happened or whatever at the same time. And when I was younger, I didn't quite understand like the reason they're doing that is because they want to keep you entertained while they're getting this stuff out of the way that they have to get out there. Like I didn't understand that at the time. But now, like, they just don't even try. It's just, no, we're just going to have the same two heads in like 12 panels, just not even changing them and having a conversation. And it's I would much rather have the nonsensical, how are they saying this paragraph of dialogue while they're throwing a punch than two people just sitting around and doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, did that ever come to you guys when you would be reading comics and you'd see two people fighting, having this long conversation? Like, how are they talking like this while they're fighting?
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men were definitely known for a lot of like dialogue-heavy comics, but most of it wasn't like the Mansion. Most of it was during like in their downtime, so it always kind of made sense, Like they usually got down to business pretty good, when they were facing off against a villain. So that's why I always I think those kind of talky comics worked for them because they would ramp up the action. They'd go to like Asteroid M, face down Magneto, have that whole thing, and then the next issue is a wind down issue. You chill out at the mansion, you play basketball, you relax, you have a little cookout, you get to know the characters more, and then you can ramp up for the next story. So that always made sense. These people seem to take all like the bad things and just extrapolate them and make it all about that instead of what comics were actually about.
Well, it's funny. I think they learned a lot of them have learned the wrong lessons. If they even read those comics, if they even read them, I'm not convinced that they even read those comics. To be honest,
they probably haven't.
But if they did, they took the wrong lessons because we all love. I know as a fan, like, and especially I was always a big X-Men fan, and I read all the X books for years, and I used to love when the X-Men would just be like playing football or playing baseball or doing something and having a good time because it let you to kind of get to know their personalities and the way they interacted with one another a little bit better. But the reason that stuff works so well is because it's not the entire issue. It would be like 2 pages or 3 pages at the beginning of the issue, and then they would just get into the action and you would go from there. It's a lot like if you watch basically pick a random episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Unless it's one where they're going to get right into whatever the story they're telling is, there's usually a little bit of, either at the beginning or the end of the episode, a lot of times there'll be a little bit of just character stuff. They're just hanging out, playing poker, or hanging out in 10 forward and having a drink, and there's a couple of little jokes and whatever. And the reason that stuff resonates so well is because it's used sparingly. If that's all you're doing, then am I reading a comic book of Friends? Like, I don't, like, what am I getting here? like that's what I think they don't understand. Like, yes, you need to have the downtime. You can't always be at 11, but you can't always be at 1 either.
You need to keep the audience entertained.
Yes.
You've got to have like, this is your regular life.
Right. like I live my regular life every day. Why would I want to read a comic about it? But you need to have ebbs and flows. You need to have ups and downs, and that's the thing, especially with something like a team book where you're going to have to, show the interaction between the characters and that kind of stuff. And if you want us to get to know them, you can throw little bits in and just dole it out over time. It doesn't need to be, here's an entire issue about why, I don't know, pick somebody, it doesn't even matter. Like, here's an entire issue about why Storm loves chocolate cake. Like, I don't need that. Like, you can tell me that in one panel and I'm good. And if you want to revisit it later and just kind of reaffirm, one of the things about her, she's got a sweet tooth. Like, you can do that. That's fine. Like, but it doesn't need to be the focus of the entire issue. And that's where they run into problems for sure. I feel like I got on a little soapbox there for a minute.
That happens.
I want to say hi to Resistance. He's in the chat.
Oh, hey, brother.
Resistance is a good dude. He said, Edwin is good people's awesome dude.
No, thank you, man.
Yeah, Resistance is a good guy. He's been with me from the very beginning. He's been following my channel and stuff for ages, and he's working on his own books and stuff. And I can't wait to see what you get going there, Mario. I want to see it when it's ready to go for sure, or before it's ready to go, really. Um, but that, and again, that's the thing. Like, we're talking about, like, you talk about CG and talk about how everybody comes out to support everybody and everything else, and so getting back to the book now, this is volume 1. How many pages is the book going to be?
Book is 32 pages, 28 pages of story, and then it has like a 4-page fan art section.
Oh, nice.
Different artists end up doing some pieces that I wanted to like showcase at the end of the book.
That's cool. I'm a big fan of that. I like when books do the fan art section, or when they do like a fan art contest or something like that. Like, I always think that's cool.
Yeah, it's really some cool pieces in there. People are gonna dig them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many talented people out there. The world, honestly, like, the world is full of talented people. Just not all of them are using their talents, or maybe not taking advantage of their talents, or whatever the case may be. So it's cool when you get to see. That's why I enjoy like the fan art sections, because I've had books. It's funny because I've had some crowdfunded books where you look at the fan art section in the back of the book, and then maybe like now maybe that book came out last year or 2 years ago, and now I'm looking, and that same dude is actually working on a book. And that's really cool to see. I like to see that too, because you start to see these people pop in and do that. Tank Ferret, how you doing? Tank Ferret's dropping by to say hi and drop that delicious like. Very nice.
Brother.
Very nice. Thank
I'm
you.
still waiting for you to finish up that CG collage you've been working on.
Oh yeah. It's speaking of talented people, there's another talented guy right there. But yeah, no, I really do like when they do like when books do the fan art section at the back, or if they're doing like a fan art contest throughout the campaign, that sort of stuff. I enjoy that. I've taken part in a couple of those, and I've actually had my fan art in Pillowman and Blanket Boy. And it was cool.
Yeah,
it was
man,
exciting to see.
I welcome the fan art. I've had a couple of people do some stuff, and anytime they've tagged me, it's always been an absolute blast. It's nothing quite as fun as getting fan art of characters you've created and seeing people's takes on them. So definitely welcome. If you're working on something for the Ace, feel free to tag me. I'll gladly retweet it.
Tank Ferret says he's been locked in the studio working on Top Secret, so he can't tell us what he's working on. Yeah, no, and it's got to be cool. Like especially it's a character that you've created, and you're seeing other people. It resonates so much enough with other people that they're taking time out to draw their own piece featuring your character. That's got to be cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So now, like I said, this is volume 1. It's in demand. Again, the link is down below in the description, so if anybody wants to check it out, you definitely can and should. So this is volume 1 now. So obviously that means, when somebody says volume 1, that means they've got a plan at least for a volume 2. So I'm assuming you do.
Oh yes, me and Canales are gonna start working on it at the end of the month. So.
Oh, nice.
The script's already done. So yeah, we're gonna get together, and then we'll start working on it by the end of May. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I think Tank Ferret says he geeks out at fan art.
yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. Like, I would freak out if somebody drew one of my characters and was like, "Here, I just drew this for you." I'd be like, "What?" Like, that's all. It's cool. I just think that's cool. So yeah. So now, with your plan for the Ace, like, what would you see as the future? So obviously, you're talking about, you've got volume 2 already. Like, you're working on the laying the foundation for that, and like in your perfect world, in a perfect scenario, is there an end for this, or is this something that you want to keep open-ended and just make as many books as the world will let you make?
Oh yeah, I want to keep telling stories in this universe for as long as people let me. So definitely, I'm in this for the long haul. Like I've already got ideas for future volumes and where each character is gonna go and stuff. So it's all about as long as the book gets funded and you know, I'll
Nice.
keep making these.
Now, what I was going to ask is, does he? I know his the main character. He lives with his mother, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, does his mother know, or does she find out when the giant shark guy comes to the door?
Yeah, she finds out during the Ace Volume 1 during the main story.
Okay. So he's not worried about trying to keep a secret identity from his family, at least. Maybe from the rest of the world, but not from the family.
I mean, he won't have the option. That's kind of like the fun part about it. Like the idea of when I say Akula shows up at his front door, I literally mean Akula shows up at his front door. It's not like anything else. Like it just the idea of like, because some of the backstory in this world, it's basically a normal world. As far as
Hmm.
David knows, there are no aliens. There are no superheroes. There are no superpowers. It's a completely normal world where everything is just like ours. And then when the armor comes, things change. But they don't change completely because he doesn't know the origin of the
Right.
armor. It's only when Akula shows up that, it goes from, 0 to 100.
Yeah, in a world with no aliens, I can imagine having a gigantic shark showing up at your front door would be like, this is a little bit strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely, like, that's not on your list of things you expected to happen that day. Like the doorbell rings and you're like, oh, maybe it's the UPS guy. Open up. Nope, it's a giant 10-foot alien shark. Okay. Yeah, I can imagine what my neighbors would say. Like, because my neighbors see everything, so I could just imagine, like, the phone call I would get the next day.
They'd file a noise complaint.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because where I live, we actually share a walk, so I could imagine him like walking up the walkway, and then like the neighbors looking out the window, like, "Oh God, don't let him come to our house! Don't let him come to our house!" And just see him like he
Sort of
makes,
like when the Jehovah's Witnesses come, they just like close their blinds.
yeah, pretend you're not home. So is he from like? Is there? Well, I don't want to. Again, I don't want to. If anything's gonna getting into spoiler territory, just say no, I can't tell you. It's a spoiler. But Akula, is he like? Is there a race of his people? Will we meet more of them, or is he like? And also, is he like a main villain, or is he kind of like gonna help us get into the world, and then we'll see other villains as we go?
Yeah, you'll definitely see more villains. Like I've already said that Angelique, who has a origin story about how comics in the book, she's gonna be the main villain for Volume 2.
Okay.
So it's definitely Akula's the one who kind of sets the table, and there's gonna be a lot more of him as we go on. But once Volume 2 hits, the next threat appears, and it's gonna be like a continuing thing early on, where like basically the doorbell's been rung, and everybody knows where the armor is, and a lot of dangerous people want it.
Right.
So this kind of sets up this interesting kind of idea of this kid who gets this power. Now he has to kind of figure it out as he goes, but he doesn't really have time to ponder, and
Right.
he has to act, and he has to let the armor kind of guide him, even though the armor doesn't talk to him or anything. It just doesn't have
Mhm.
that kind of relationship. But he's had the armor for about 6 months when the story starts, so he's developed like a trust for it, and that's what kind of helps him, be brave enough to kind of take on these challenges that come to him.
So now would like
And I know there
volume.
was other questions that you asked there about Akula. It was there are more shark creatures, I guess you'd say. His world is like a say like a marine slash aquatic, you know,
Okay.
humanoid. So like humanoid dolphins and stuff like that that kind of permeate in a world. They've all made it to land, in a way. So like
Right.
they've evolved. But yeah, they're you'll definitely be seeing more other different shark creatures and stuff in different volumes and stuff like that.
So now this the book, the way it sounds and whatnot. I'm just wondering, like, what would you say? Like, is this kind of is this an all ages book, or is this going to give us, or is it going to be like at some point, like, oh crap, I didn't see that coming. Some guy's spleen just got pulled out through his nose or something. Like,
Nothing crazy, but there is like death. Like people do get killed.
sure,
You know, so it's not exactly for little kids, but it's also there's nothing. I would just tell you to skim it quickly. Just skim it, skim the pages and see. Especially towards the back of the book. I see a couple panels, but like I said, I don't really, I don't really have interest in seeing anything too explicit.
right?
Like any kind of violence you'll find here is something you'll find like I said in like a '90s Marvel comic. So it
Yeah.
won't be
I,
more than
I
that.
I consider, like, it's funny, like, when I say all ages, like everybody has like that thought of, like, like little kid books, but like I mean like the stuff that I read when I was young. Like I might have been like 10 or 11 years old, and I was reading a book where Wolverine would like just stab somebody with his claws and stuff, and like I didn't think anything of it. Like that wasn't a
Oh
big
yeah,
deal. Like,
no, like you'll be good. 10-year-old, 10 and up should be perfect. Though. Don't dig it.
well, that's why I was asking, because I'm looking at the character designs, like the design of the Ace, the design of Akula, and everything. They really like look like the kind of thing that a 10-year-old boy or 11-year-old boy would look at and go like, I need that. What is that? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
could see like action figures of them
Yes.
on like a toy shelf.
Yeah. No, it's like when the idea for the cover specifically, was just like I wanted my 10-year-old self, if I could transport him to the future and put this on a spinner rack, would he pick it up? You
Right.
know, and that cover completely, I was like, yeah, I would totally. If I was 10 and I knew nothing about this and I saw that the spinner rack, I'd be like, what is this shark guy?
Uh-huh.
I'm getting this. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like again, when I was reading those books back when I was getting, like, the box of comics for Christmas from the Sears catalog, like they had, I had the one box had two different issues from Craven's Last Hunt in there. Like this wasn't like these were, books that were written for little kids, but they also, so they didn't talk down to you as an audience, which was, as a kid, you like that. And also I feel like as a kid, you look at stuff and you always have that aspiration of like being older and wanting to be like, well, I don't want to read the little kid book. I want to read the cool book with the shark guy on it. Like that's what
Yeah,
I want to read.
exactly. When I was young, I never got into any sort of like kiddie books. Like that was never of interest to me. Anytime somebody was like, no, I don't want a kiddie book. I want like a real comic.
Right.
You give it to me, like
Right. And yeah, and that's the thing. Like even as a kid, like you understood, like you could handle it. There was nothing in there that was gonna like scar you for life or anything horrible. Like you could absolutely like kids can handle a lot more than I think a lot of people give them credit for.
Hmm.
Uh, and
yeah,
and I feel,
definitely.
and I also feel like kids know when something is pandering and trying to be for them, and when something is just, it's cool and there's nothing horribly inappropriate, so they're able to look at it. There's like no graphic nudity or anything like that. Like, so obviously they can, the parents will let them look at it. And I feel like, when we were younger, I feel like our parents would let us look at that. Like they weren't as worried about that kind of thing. Like I feel like a lot of people are now. Like like
It's much more pacified now.
yeah. Yeah, like
watered down.
if you look at like something that's quote unquote made for kids, kids don't want that. Kids want the cool, edgy thing that they're not supposed to have. That's how kids are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how kids are. They want the thing that's they're not really supposed to have, that they maybe will get in trouble if their parents saw it, even though they really won't. But like in their mind, they feel like they're getting away with something, you know.
Yeah.
That's what kids want. especially I feel like especially young boys.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Young
I say
boys,
that as being a young boy once.
exactly. You know, it may surprise you to hear this, RC, but I was also a young boy once. I get crap about my age all the time, Edwin.
At least once per stream.
Yes.
Hey man, that's part of the fun of CG.
Well, that's actually that it is. That's the fun. Like I saw some guy today. There was a thing making the rounds on Twitter where some guy posted about like it was a picture, it was like an ad, like I guess Lego had posted an ad on Twitter and it showed a guy who had built like an Imperial probe droid Lego. And this guy posted like, what's with this trend of adult men playing with kids' toys? Do they make spaceship noises when they're playing with them too? And it was like, are you really that much of a turd? Like, come
Yes.
on.
Yes, they make the spaceship noises, and yes, he is a turd.
It was just so funny to me because I was like, how do you not have like yes, like it like, and then he started saying like you should be doing things like for fun, you shouldn't be playing with toys, you should be, you know, and he rattled off this list of like doing the laundry and changing the oil on your car, and I'm like, first of all, that's not fun. And
I was gonna say, you count those things as fun?
right, like first
If it's like a project car, maybe, but it's like everything
Right.
else, no.
Yeah,
no,
like-
no.
that's not fun, number one. And number two, we already do those things. That's part of being an adult, is being able to handle your responsibilities and then also have some fun. Do some stuff for fun. Like I thought it was the strangest thing that this guy was trying to make this argument. Like, and of course he was just getting ratioed all to hell because like everybody was like, just shut up. You know?
As he should be.
But it was just so absurd to me because I'm like, this idea of you can't be an adult and also still like stuff that you have found joy in when you were a kid is absurd to me. Like that makes no sense. You know, a person like Walt Disney was obviously an adult. The man built an empire, and yet what did he build his empire doing? Making kids stuff, making fun stuff. Like that's what he did. Like, and he enjoyed it. And yes, he was definitely, you know, Walt was definitely the more of the dreamer, and Roy was the guy who handled more of the business aspect of stuff. But at the same time, like that whole entire company, and say what you want about Disney at this point, but that whole entire, you know, conglomerate doesn't exist without him wanting to have fun and doing something that will let people have fun. Like I feel like people, like for some reason, I feel like in this day and age, people they either treat fun as it's either their entire life, and so they just abdicate all responsibilities whatsoever, or they treat fun like it's a 4-letter word and they're not allowed to have it. Like guys, there's a middle ground. Like chill.
I mean, honestly, if it's not fun, what's the point of doing it at this
Right.
stage in
Mhm.
life? You know, like I've learned as I've gotten older, like there's no fun in being miserable. You know, just I want to surround myself with fun people, fun things.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well,
else.
yeah, well, because I mean, honestly, like, what's the point? Like, I know listen, I've known plenty of people in my life who are not happy unless they're unhappy. Like, I've known plenty of people like that. They're just not happy unless they're complaining about something. And whatever, that's their fun. Okay. But But I think you'd be a lot happier if you just let yourself be happy.
But I think the problem with everything going on right now is that these people aren't happy unless everyone else is unhappy. Like fun for them is a 4-letter word.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like we're at that way with a lot of the people who are supposed to be making our entertainment, whether it be movies or television or comics or whatever, especially anything like, I feel like all the mainstream entertainment people are like, they're just not creative people. They're not people who can have fun. And they hamstring themselves with all these rules that they add on top of the fact that they're already just miserable people. Like you're not helping yourself when you start making all these rules about what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do in a comic. It's a comic book. There should be no limits. The only
limit being your imagination.
Yeah. The only limits are the limits you put on yourself. That's it. You can say, well, I'm going to make a comic, but I don't want to make a comic that has, hardcore pornography in it. Okay, that's fine. Like that is a self-imposed limit that you're going to do. And that's fine. But at the same time, like just saying like, well, I have to have this type of person, and this type of person, or else my comic is not good. Stop making up these dumb rules.
The stuff with diversity, that's a real pet peeve for me because don't want to shock anybody, but I am Puerto Rican.
No. Well, I didn't know you were Puerto Rican, but I knew you were of some sort of Hispanic background with a last name like Acevedo.
Yes. And guess what? Comics have been diverse from the first time I picked up a comic book. My second ever comic book was Uncanny X-Men, I believe it's 283. Storm and Bishop on the cover.
Yeah.
Like there was this stuff about, that's when you can separate the real fans from posers. Because when they cry about diversity, when they cry about women, and you just say, wait a minute, I've been reading comics since the early 90s. Storm, Jean Grey, Psylocke, Jubilee, Rogue. Are those things familiar to you? Captain Marvel, Black Widow, She-Hulk, Sue Storm, Black Cat, and on and on and on.
Right.
All sorts of ethnic backgrounds, all sorts of different women and body types, all sorts of different characters. Back then, this isn't some new phenomenon. This didn't start in 2010.
No.
Like these weirdos want everybody to believe like we have to fight the patriarchy. Storm led the X-Men.
Yes.
Storm used to tell Wolverine what to do.
Right. And
nobody ever batted an eye about it.
No, and the best part was, like you said, Storm would tell Wolverine what to do and he would do it. There was no issue with that.
She was the leader of the X-Men, right up front, right on the covers.
Right.
Like, well, what is this stuff about? You see that's the thing where you really separate the people. When we talk about gatekeeping, like these fake wannabe people that hate comic books and just want to come in and ruin it for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they get exposed because the facts don't line up to what they present. And it's very easy to debunk everything they say. So like anybody who wants to, don't bother yelling and reading. Just, you think diversity is new? You think people are scared of strong females? Like, welcome to comics. We've been diverse for decades.
Well, what's funny is I'll go back even further. I'll go back to the 80s because, like I said, I was born in 1975. I started reading comics in the 80s. Go back to the 80s. G.I. Joe had a bunch of female characters. They had a bunch of characters from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different parts of, obviously G.I. Joe, they were all from America, but they were all from different parts of America. And they were all had different backgrounds. And you had characters like just right there in the forefront, characters like Roadblock, who were featured constantly. You had so many different characters. You had Scarlet was there right from the beginning. You had Lady J in the cartoon. You had Scarlet, Lady J. You had CoverGirl. You had all these different characters that came out. Like I said, Roadblock was always featured. Doc was always featured heavily. Like these characters are all different backgrounds, and then later on you introduced even more when you introduced characters like Jinx and Quick Kick and all these, like, and this is going back to the 80s. Like, just, you're not doing anything new. Like, stop trying. Don't break your arm patting yourself in the back because you didn't do anything that hasn't been done before, other than drive the industry into the toilet. That's new.
Yeah, you're definitely sending the industry backwards,
right?
Mm-hmm. Forward. You're taking great characters like Bishop, who was an instant fan favorite from the moment he showed up, and you've turned them into an unrecognizable lame that nobody cares about anymore. That's what you did,
right? Yeah, when I saw that one, there was that one issue recently, and the only reason I saw it is from people doing videos on it, and they showed what Bishop looked like, and I was like, what the? Bishop used to be a monster of a person. He was huge. He was jacked. He was this mysterious guy from the future. His whole deal was awesome. His whole storyline, the way he was introduced, was so cool. I thought, like, the fact that he came back from the future because someone was going to betray the X-Men. And so he was sent back to find the traitor and take them out before they could betray the X-Men, was an amazing backstory to give this character and motivation to give this character. He just looked badass. And then when he buzzed his head, he looked even cooler because he lost the mullet. But like, but like, he was instant. People were like, wow, who is this guy? Just instantly. And it wasn't a matter of, wow, who's this new black character? No, it was just, dude, who's this new guy? He's awesome. That's all it was. Like, you talk about Storm. I had a poster in my bedroom. I had this giant, like, Marvel poster that I got. I don't even know where the hell I got it from. And it had a bunch of different characters on it. It had, the Hulk, and it had Wolverine, and it had, Daredevil and Punisher and a bunch of different characters all over it, Thor and all these others. And one of the most prominent characters on that poster was Storm. Like, she was one of the biggest characters on that poster. And I didn't look at that poster and go, oh, why did they have to put her on there? No, I was like, cool, I like Storm. And I hung that shit up in my bedroom, and it's hung up there for years. like that's the thing. Like, they don't understand. Like, everybody wants to act like history didn't happen until, like, 5 or 10 years ago. And like you said, that's what outs them. It outs them as either being just ignorant of the history, and clearly they weren't reading comics, or it outs them as just being straight out liars who are pretending like they don't know what came before. So there's your choice. You're either an idiot or a liar. Which one is it? like, let me know. I'll give you a few minutes to decide. You tweet me back your angry response about which one you are. Yeah. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, and you have guys, the worst part is you have people at the big two who, they've been there. Like, some of these people actually worked there back in those days, and they're still letting these people just act like this and talk like this without pulling them inside and saying, like, hey, by the way, yeah, no, don't you sound dumb when you're talking like that. Like, just chill. Let me explain to you what came before, and you'll be. But then they'd be accused of mansplaining, and that would be a whole nother problem, I'm sure.
It has a certain amount of fear going through a company whenever it's like that.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it is. There's definite fear. There's fear of the craziest part is there's fear of freelancers and 20-year-old editors and like assistant editors. Why are you afraid of these people? Like, these are people who you literally would never have to see, because the freelancers, you can just not work with them. You can literally just not work with them. You don't have to keep hiring them for new projects. They're freelancers. You don't even have to fire them. If you're scared to fire them, you can just let the contract run out and never call them again. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And then as far as like the 20-something-year-old editors, like, not for nothing, they don't have a union. I'm sure they are at-will employees. So that, you know what that means? That means you can fire them for any reason. Like, what are you so scared of? Why does someone like Heather Antos keep getting hired by more publishers?
Social pushback.
Yeah. You know, it's absolutely absurd. And I don't really talk about her specifically, and I don't really talk about anybody specifically too much on my channel. I try to stay away from that stuff. I try to keep my channel positive. On live streams, I'll go off a little more, but like in my videos, I try to keep things positive and just focus on the good stuff, because I don't want to give too much oxygen to the crap out there, because why would you? It just makes it smell worse. So I always try to shine the light more on the cool stuff and the fun stuff, like The Ace. The Ace was a cool looking book. It's a fun looking book. That's what we need to do.
It is, like, and it's got some really cool and really good art. It's got, like I said, it's already got Canales, colors by Theo Gonzalez, great cover by Donald. It's also got epilogue story by Sweens, who did Oddity. He did a tremendous job in that.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yep, if you scroll down past the Canales art, right there.
Yeah, that's there. Sweens. I saw it and I recognized it now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, those colors pop, man. He did a great job on this little epilogue story. It's a little bit of a mystery piece. I'm gonna have a little epilogue stories in the back of each book, basically gonna tie in. As the volumes go on, the story will kind of become clearer, and eventually it'll kind of tie in with the main story. Just a little fun stuff I've kind of had in my head about something to do in a book. You know, that was an interesting idea. Yeah, he did a tremendous job. I cannot wait for people to see his pages. It's completely just blew it out of the water.
I think that's a good idea too for like when we're doing these kind of books, you're in a weird position in a way, because it's easy when you're doing a monthly book. You can just constantly expand every month, on the character, and you just constantly cranking stuff out so that the everything can grow. You can tell everything over time. But when you're doing like these kind of books, which obviously come out much more, much less frequently, having like a secondary story, a backup story that kind of just sheds a little more light, it just helps. I feel like it kind of helps the audience to connect more with the character and feel like maybe they know more about the character, and they've seen them now in more than one story. Yeah,
and it also like introduces like future threads without kind of interjecting in the main story,
right?
Which is something that, and then also have How Comics doing the Angelique origin story. You see right there, beautiful colors. How, again, just completely different style. I call this a bit of a dark fairy tale. That's why he's got this kind of fantasy alien style. It's really tremendous work that he did on this, and it gives you a little teaser to Angelique, who's going to be the main villain in Volume 2. So we introduce her in the Ace Volume 1.
Yeah, I could definitely see the where you're saying the fairy tale. There's so much detail in this too. That's like,
oh yeah, that's not even yeah.
Like I'm looking, like I was staring at this one and I was just looking at all those feathers and I was going, God, that had to take forever. Like that's something I can wholeheartedly appreciate.
Yeah. So,
anytime anyone does like a lot of feathers or a lot of scales, I'm like, my respect to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this isn't like a huge piece either. This is just a panel.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I can't even imagine him putting a small panel and putting all that detail in there.
Yeah, because that looks like a splash page.
Yeah, it does. No, it's just a one of like 4 panels, I think, in a page. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's mad respect for that, because I know, like, I would have been like, all right, I'm gonna do all these, like, I would have gone into it and go, okay, I'm gonna do all these feathers. I would have gotten like 5 feathers in and been like, why did I decide to do all these feathers? And then you're already committed, so you just have to do it. But like, I would just be like hating myself the whole time.
Yeah, like I love it. Like he even added like the ones on the left. He added the extra kind of the folded feather to show the wing.
Right.
That's completely insane.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, talented dude, man. So yeah, man. Like I said, working with these guys has been an absolute blast. You know, that piece right there. That's by Mike McMahon. He did a print that I'm offering with the campaign colors by Sim. He did a tremendous piece. The full page it shows like a bunch of androids all kind of blown up and destroyed underneath like him. So it's very kind of 90s inspired. Mike's got that cool like 90s image style.
Yes.
So yeah, this really pops when people see this full image and the piece, they're gonna dig it. Yep, and then
this one.
This is no longer available. Yeah, but we did have this for a couple months in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Hardline Jam piece. I actually have the posters in hand. Let's see. Give me one quick second here.
Yeah. This is, I can see you've got like, well, obviously the ace. You've got like Oddity.
Yeah, she can show
Magic Cop.
Hey Jam, do you want to put Edwin on full screen?
Yeah.
You can see the poster in real life.
There we go.
Yeah, I just got those in the other day. That along with a couple trading cards. So
that's nice.
Yeah, the colors look great on it, man. I'm really excited.
That's gotta
starting the process of getting stuff ordered in. I got some mailers, some bags and boards, ordering some tape and top loaders for the trading cards, and just so much stuff. I'm just like, I don't know where I'm gonna put half the stuff, but you have to stack it on top of each other and make it work. So.
Well, and you're so obviously you're fulfilling from on your own.
Yeah, that's the plan. Unless I lose my mind and just be like, screw it, pay somebody else to deal with this headache. We'll see how it goes. I'll make no promises. That's why we put it to July. So.
Yeah, no, because you've got, what do you got? You got 172 packages to mail out. So, and I can see the other thing here too. You've got the I wanted to mention for people is the book is 15. It's not, a lot of people are used to the standard. Like a lot of people, like I call it the standard, but yeah. That 25 price point. So you've got the $15 price point, which is nice. I feel like when everybody was putting out, especially in the early days when every book was $25, like it was like you 25 or 50, and you got like a little bonus with the 50, and it was like that started to add up real quick.
Yeah. And on top of that, with the stretch goals that have been unlocked, it's even better deal. Right now, if you go and you back the ace, let's say you just get the comic book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'll get the ace, back it. You will get the Angelique trading card. You will get the Kaiju print by Jim O'Reilly. You'll get the Sexy Angelique print by PM Antunes. And you'll get a set of 4 6 a.m. stickers.
Yeah, so that's a nice little package you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice package. And that's so now who are you this is just out of my curiosity now. Who are you going for? Who are you using for printing?
I'm using Mixam.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I know a lot of people use them.
Yeah, been good so far.
So are they printing everything for you? Like they doing your prints and your cards and everything, or just the books?
No, the cards are by Primo Print.
Okay.
And the print and the stickers are by the Zade Comics guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're doing the posters, the comics, obviously, the main kind of stuff.
Right. That's cool. That's cool. So now, when do you said you just said it too? When did you expect to ship?
We put in July, so that's a bit away. So it gives
Right.
me
Yeah.
time
So
to kind of learn.
you still got time to get more backers.
Yes, I got time to change my mind. So we'll see how it goes.
Honestly, it's funny because you hear people talk about fulfilling campaigns, and some people seem to love doing it, and some people hate doing it.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll see. I'm not against doing it. That's just with my full time job and everything. It's just I don't. Like I said, I want to kind of do some tests.
Right.
I'll send out some test shipments kind of first, kind of I do gotta send out comps to my artists and stuff like that. So I'll probably do that first. Kind
Right.
of feel out, see how much it costs me, and I gotta do the math on some things.
Sure.
Then we'll see how long it takes me to pack and make sure I'm packing everything correctly and it
Right.
gets into people's hands right. And then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's a good problem to have, that having it means people wanted your book. But I definitely, you hear, it's funny because you hear some people talk about it and they seem to enjoy it. And I feel like it could be fun, honestly, because it's your book, that's your baby, and like, that's your chance to like, just enjoy the fact that all these people wanted something that you created. And it's like that final step of like, okay, sending my baby out into the world.
But yeah, like everything about it is awesome. It's just the idea of sending out like 200 packages.
Right.
Because I try to avoid the post office as much as possible. I'm not someone who sends stuff there. Like the amount of packages I've sent in the past year, of like basically any year, be like a handful, maybe 5 packages a year, where I actually have to go to post office and send stuff. Like so that's not something I care to do.
Yeah, no,
Just
I can understand that.
so when you're saying like I gotta do that 200 times, and then you know also like sending art and all this different stuff is just gonna be
Right.
an extra headache on top of everything, because I'm a worrier by nature when it comes to stuff that's not if it's for me, I don't care, but if I'm sending somebody, like I've done giveaway stuff where I've sent stuff to people and I'm always like, make sure they get their tracking number. I'm always hitting people up like, did you get it yet? How was it? Like if I'm sending stuff, I worry. If it's for me, like whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. Like there's a different sense of responsibility, when you're sending something out to people who are supporting you in that way. These are complete strangers who've trusted you enough, and they seem to like what you're doing enough to put their money into you. So I get that, like, feeling like, I know this needs to be perfect. Yeah. Like, I definitely understand that for sure. So let's just one last time, let's run through for anybody who joins us late, or anybody who watching the replay just needs a refresher real quick. The Ace is available in demand on Indiegogo. Did you see, by the way, just real quick, did you see the another counterfeit campaign popped up on Kickstarter?
Oh yeah, it's become a regular thing.
Yeah, it was another one now, and it was Columns of Creation. Now there's a bogus one on Kickstarter of that now. I know it happened to Vinny with I forget which one it was. One of Vinny Tartamella's books.
Was it Shadow of the
with
Kraken?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, didn't he reach out to Brian Menard, Dojo-kun Comics, about that?
You mean the one from today?
No, I mean
or Vinny's
with Vinny's.
I'm not sure how Vinny got it rectified. Eventually, they finally pulled it down, but it took like a couple days. Like that stupid thing was up there for a couple of days, which is just absurd because it should literally take no more than like a minute to just click over, look at Indiegogo, see the campaign, and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, this one's bogus. Shut it down." Like it shouldn't be that hard. Like, and yet it was up. I remember it was up for a couple of days. I don't know if the other one from now is still up, but even the Cyberfrog one from back when that happened, like that was up for like a good couple of weeks, I think. Like, and that's just like come on, like you're messing with people, like people who are like, these are not, listen, people mess with, big corporations all the time, but you're just messing with people. You're messing with small independent creators who are just trying to make a dream come true for themselves. And like why are you screwing with that? That's ridiculous. I don't know. It just annoys me, and it annoys me how long it takes Kickstarter to get on top of that stuff too.
Kickstarter doesn't care unless it's actually going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, well, that's the crazy part. Like, I mean, I've backed a few Kickstarters over the years, but like, I just, the more this kind of stuff happens, the less and less I want to give them any cut of the money that I want to support the creators. I want to support the creators, and if that's the platform they choose, it kind of sucks. Like, I don't want to, and I get it. Like for some people, it's like I know when what's his name, Jose Garcia, Lumina Vox, when he was going to launch his campaign, like way back, he was looking into it, and he couldn't do it because he's out of the country, and apparently you couldn't do an Indiegogo from out of the country. And he eventually worked something out because he is on Indiegogo now, but like, I remember he was saying like, I might have to go with Kickstarter because I'm not able to do Indiegogo. And I was like, oh, that would suck. Like, cause that would hurt him. Like in the end, that would end up hurting him. So it's a weird situation. Same thing with it's like the whole Patreon thing, like where they're literally telling people now like to change the content that they're posting. Like, stop. Just stop. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes you just want to stay away from these platforms altogether. And it's hard when you see people go in there and you're like, dude, I think your book looks awesome, but I do not want to give them money. Like it's tough. That's why I like some people I know, like what's his name, Marcel Dupree. He'll do a Kickstarter and an Indiegogo for his books, like the Evolution books. He does them on both. Which, if you're gonna do that, like, cool, then I'll support on Indiegogo, like, because that's where I'd rather go. And so anyway, so the Ace is still in demand, and it'll be like, do you have any idea? Like, are you gonna keep the store open even after you start delivering, or are you gonna shut it down before you start shipping? Have you decided?
I'll probably keep it open for a while. It's not gonna be one of those that's gonna be kind of open-ended. It will get shut down probably near the end of the year.
Okay, yeah, I like when people keep the I know it's a little, logistics are an issue obviously, but I like when people keep the in demand going while they are fulfilling, because then you start seeing people post, hey, I got my book, and they're posting it on social media, and then people are like, oh man, did I miss out on it? And then they look and like, oh, I can actually still get one. I feel like it might drive, I don't know how many I mean, I don't have the numbers to back it up, but I feel like that would drive sales for sure.
I know I hear from a lot of campaigns, they're always like, whenever they do start fulfilling, there is a push for more backers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. Like some people don't want to jump in right away and then wait however long they're gonna have to wait to get the book. I mean, listen, I got an email last I think it was last week actually, that my Red Rooster had shipped, and and so I'm looking at the tracking number, and it was supposed to have, according to the, they give you the estimated, on the USPS tracking, they give you the estimated delivery date. The estimated delivery date was May 11th
of 2018.
No. It was no, like the USPS.
I'm joking.
It said May 11th was when it was, estimated to be shipping. It apparently, according to the tracking thing now, I just looked at it before, it went to New Jersey, and I guess it's still there. I don't even know. Like, the update is so weird the way it's written. Like, I'm guessing it's still in Jersey and it hasn't come to New York yet. Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get it. Like, I might not get it that day, but maybe I'll get it like the next day. But then I still didn't get it today. So I don't know what the hell's up with that. But at some point, I guess I'm getting it finally. Yeah, it's just so funny. Like, honestly, when I saw the email, I kind of laughed. I'm like, okay. Like, that's been a long road. Yeah. I almost feel like it's kind of a crappy thing to do, but I almost feel like making a video when it does get here. Like, remember in Indiana Jones when they would show the map and like the plane flying like to the different points? Like, I almost feel like making a video like that of my red rooster just flying across the country until it eventually gets here. You know what the sad part is, though? That's not even the book that I'm waiting the longest for. And that's an issue. But that's a topic for an entirely another show. Like, that's a whole show in and of itself. Because I've got books that I'm waiting and waiting. I'm excited. Starblades is finally shipping this week. I was happy to see that. Like Ethan said, they're starting to ship them out already this week, so that's cool. Because that's another one that's been a while in the company. But that book just looks so freaking good. So anyway, let's wrap things up. We've been going for a while, so we're gonna wrap things up here. Edwin, the Ace, his book, The Ace, is still available in demand. It will be for a while still, so you got time to get in there. The link is definitely in the description down below, so you can just click on the link, head over to Indiegogo. Thank you, Edwin, for being here, for being our guest.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, anytime. And chat, thank you for hanging out with us. Anybody who's in the chat, who's still in the chat, anybody who was in the chat, anybody who watches the replay, we thank you all. So thank you for being here. RC, thanks for being here.
No problem.
And we will see you again soon. We'll be back again on Tuesday, every Tuesday. We're always here every Tuesday. Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, the best ever. That's our weekly show. We pick a topic, we talk about it. It's usually something fun, nostalgic, and we have a good time with it. Our last episode was all about toys. That was a good time. There was much joy and merriment. I don't know why I said that. But yeah, no,
every consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Every Tuesday, I kind of just say whatever comes out. It's just every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, we're here. Come back to the channel tomorrow. I will have a review going up of SOS Volume 2. And next week, I believe next Thursday, we haven't picked the time yet, but we're going to have, we should have Chimera, who is the guy who created SOS and who's got a new book he's working on. He'll be coming to hang out with us probably next Thursday. I'm not sure of the time yet. We'll let you know. So definitely hang out. Definitely check out IndieComicsUnderground.com. That's the website dedicated to indie and crowdfunded comics. You can find all kinds of good stuff there. I'll have interviews going up, another new interview going up tomorrow on there with another creator. Next week, I've got a webcomic spotlight going up, and some more interviews have been sent out, waiting on answers, and those will be posted as soon as I get them. So that's it. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, RC. Thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone. Peace. Now we do the awkward wait.